Good evening. I call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are actually going to start with the presentations first, and then we will come back to the approval of the agenda. So, SWBR and campus construction, would you like to begin?
Hi everybody, can you hear me? Yeah. So, good evening. I do have an update for everybody. Like similar fashion, we're going to go through a progress update, and then we'll hit budget update, and then we'll talk through a couple of the items we're asking for action tonight. So, on the schedule of the progress, we're happy to report, and we have good news that the third floor roofing was completed at the end of the shift on Monday. So that's been one of our critical items that we've talked to as being on a critical path. So the roof was completed. There's the rest of this week it will take to, if everyone remembers, there's a barrier, the contamination barrier inside the building. The crew's inside the building now taking that all down. While that's coming down, there is air monitoring testing being performed to make sure the safety of the building remains intact. That'll get through most of this week. The weather does look good on, I think, Friday into Saturday, so if that's favorable. The next section of roofing that the roofers are going to go to is on the second floor tier, which they're going to start on the south and work north. So technically the next space that's going to be re-roofed is the gymnasium. And then we'll work to the media center and then finish in the auditorium. So what that means for the sequence of construction is at that point the contractors are going to be, the other trades will be locked out of the gym in that first floor corridor that splits the gym and the odd, which isn't the worst thing. That puts them all back up on the third floor to catch that space up on the finish and the MEP finish and fit out. So on the second floor where we've been focusing through the last month and a half, finishes have been progressing well. If you were in the building, you'd see painting and paints on the wall. At least first coat in all the room, primer first coat. Ceilings have been started, there's lights hanging, there's finished mechanical equipment, ceiling hung units that are installed, so there is significant progress. Moving on to the first floor, it's taken shape. For the most part, the framing and boarding is all complete, and finishes are just, they're just starting to drywall and tape, or do the taping and finishing. So overall, there's still a lot of obstacles and challenges and moving parts that leave us a little bit hesitant, but on paper, we're working with the trades every single day and week. We do have a plan on paper to finish the building and start moving back in occupancy towards the end of July or into August. That's still very much loose. Unfortunately, I can't say with 100% confidence and guarantee it, but we do know that in the forthcoming months, by probably mid to late spring, programmatically we're going to have to give a recommendation for the district to make a game plan for next school year. So right now our plan and our initiative is to get the district into that building before the start of school. We just leave it with a little caveat that there's some moving parts that need to fall into place. Questions on that? Questions on progress? I didn't mention it. Weather, we finally, Monday, if anyone got a chance to get outside, we finally saw the sun. It's 60 degrees for the first time in a while. We are cognizant of that. As soon as we get some more of the building materials out of the parking lot and weather breaks on a more permanent basis, there is a clip of site work that needs to happen over there. So you'll see probably the latter part of April, early May, we should be remobilizing the site contractor to build out the rest of the site work that needs to happen.
One thing.
Yes, sir.
It seems like the last couple of presentations that you've said that we don't have a definitive date yet, you'll know more at the next presentation, and that's been kind of ongoing the last two presentations. When do you expect to have a concrete yes or no whether or not we're going to be in it by September?
I think we could stand here with confidence and know if it's going to make or break by probably about the end of April. So it's not, I don't want to stand here and be inconcise. I just can't, with the moving parts and things, I'm reserved to guarantee it because there's some things that are still need to fall into place that are in and out of everyone's control. So I've been a little bit cautious with that, and I apologize because I don't like to be unclear. But respecting the program, I know by late spring we would have to be definitive.
Jason, just to comment on your question. From our perspective in working with the construction manager and architect, there are a couple of pieces that have to, major pieces that have to fall in place. And I think that's what Kevin's referring to, is by April, those pieces, we should know whether or not they fall into place. But it's still dependent on the contractors performing to the schedule that they've agreed on. And that's, I think, where even after those pieces, it's still going to be dependent on their performance. So I think that's where that up in the air part of that will have to be for a little while longer. Thank you.
In terms of budget, you'll see in the monthly report that was distributed at the beginning of last week, the budget is still intact. We're holding a pretty healthy contingency that still is remaining balance for the work that's ahead of us. Last month, you saw in your agendas, and between the end of January through February, there was some pretty healthy change management process. We've made pretty good hurdles in that. There are still a cluster of outstanding issues that are being processed, so we're still going to be, we're not totally out of the woods there, but we've got estimates and placeholders, and we do feel with a lot more confidence than we probably did several months ago. I can say with confidence that we think there's enough money to finish the project at this point with the current design. You're going to see, and I apologize, it didn't make the board packet, but there is one fairly significant change order on, it's going to be presented to you later today for approval. Real quick, just give you a description because you didn't have a chance to see it ahead of time. It has to do with the second floor cluster space. We've been calling it cluster space in the north end. To remind everybody in this board, back last spring, this was a scope item that was strategically removed from the project as a value engineering, but through the redesign process and through the updated budget analysis, the work was slightly rescoped, but it's getting put back in place so that that second floor can be reopened up. So it's a significant change order, but we had gotten a pretty good credit back in the spring. You're paying for the delta, so that is something we do need approval for. It's got it's on the critical path. It includes temporary shoring and a pretty good amount of demolition of the second floor and a rebuild. In terms of the rest of the change orders, those are all partly in process for anything that's outstanding, and we're certainly have a pretty good system in place to get more proactive and expedite anything that's forthcoming, so it doesn't have significant schedule impact if there are future changes.
Is the one that you were referring to GT078? Is that the cluster?
Yes. Is that the number? Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The last, yes, sir.
And is that captured there in this, in our summary?
It is.
Okay, you've already taken that into account?
Yes.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Could you describe that again? Is it at the north end of the building?
It's on the second floor on the north end.
Okay. Could you describe that again, please?
Yeah, you want to know this thing?
Hi, Steve Rebels with SWBR. Sorry for my late arrival. As part of the original design, there was a bearing wall that is the old exterior wall of the original school where the 92 addition was added on. We're making some large openings in that bearing wall to open up the space from one side of that wall to the other to achieve a group of classrooms that surrounds an open area in the hallway. So it was one of those features that was part of the original design. The credit that Kevin referred to was really at the first floor, the wall below the cafeteria, which prior to this redesign would have had some major demolition. You'll recall that a black tar-like material was found on the structural clay tile that was concealed by the plaster, and it was only after the wall demolition and the ceiling demolition that black material was found, and so that was part of the impetus behind trying to minimize the amount of demolition on the first floor, and then be a little more strategic about where we demolish that material on the second floor. But a big piece of that change order is the abatement that's required in order to demolish that material. Is that a satisfactory answer? Thanks.
John, I'd also like to add, if I could, to that, one of the reasons for that shoring and adjusting that is to get the classroom sizes as large as they can be, instead of having the smaller classrooms that were part of the original building. And so using the space as efficiently as possible, and that's what that Steve and his group have designed, and that's what that shoring work will produce.
That's what I would envision.
Yeah.
After looking at the pictures on our website, what kind of lighting will be in the classrooms? It looked pretty good.
As far as type of fixture, what?
Not specific, but like, is it LED lights?
Yeah,
or?
oh yes. All LED lighting throughout the entire facility. Most of the classrooms will have regular 2x4 light fixtures, but they're all LED.
Okay.
We also are adjusting the ceilings at the windows to maximize the amount of daylight. If you remember, the old ceilings used to come up and terminate at the window, and a third of the window was covered above the ceiling. Now the ceilings slope up to the top of the window head that will allow lighting, natural daylight, to come into the classroom further.
That's super.
Yes, we agree.
On the second floor also, there is a stage lighting and dimmer console or whatever. On the second floor, but the stage is on the first floor.
Sure.
How do you operate the controls up on the second floor?
First of all, can everybody hear me? Do I need to use the mic? I'm sorry. Yeah, she needs a mic. So the system is very similar in locations to what the old system was. You had a remote head unit of the controls, and then everything else was controlled on the stage. This is similar in that regard, where the main control panel is located on that second floor data closet that you mentioned. But at stage level, there's a tablet that can control the sound and lighting, both the house lighting and the theatrical lighting. In addition to that, there's a remote tablet that can plug into one of the outlets that's in the, or any outlet that's in the auditorium that can control that lighting. So it's purely just to house it in that location, and then it's all controlled from the stage or from the auditorium itself. Is that helpful?
Very much so, thank you.
Okay. Any other architectural questions?
The last piece of our presentation and what you, again, what you'll see in your packet for action, if everyone remembers back in the spring when we were surgically reducing scope and protecting the budget, we took out the elementary flooring replacement, the corridor flooring replacement. Since budget has freed up, both SWBR and campus facilitated a bid process from January into February. We opened bids in the middle of February, came in on budget. So you're going to see a recommendation to award to Iverson Corp. for, and it's for the flooring, the corridor flooring replacement at the elementary building, which upon, a positive award tonight, will kick off the contractor, and it will be scheduled for summer replacement during the summer recess.
Kevin, I had a question because I know the windows are not going to be replaced at the middle school. That was one of the first things that was removed.
Correct.
And at North Rose, there's a number of things that aren't going to be completed as well. I think we had asked at one point if you could list the things that have been removed from the project so that we'd have a full listing of everything.
Yes, I think we may respond to that, but we can certainly revisit.
Okay.
Basically taking the original scope and what was deleted versus there was some work, if everyone remembers, that was completed last year.
Right.
So let us go back to our file. We can certainly reproduce that and send it out for your review at the next meeting next month. We can generate that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Snapshot.
I guess no more questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And now the Career Ready presentation.
All right, so this presentation is a result of some questions that had come up at the last board meeting regarding what does North Rose-Wolcott do to get our students who are heading off to careers ready for that. So I was able to collaborate with my colleagues, the other administrators, to get input regarding each of their buildings, and we'll go through what's going on at North Rose-Wolcott to get our students career ready. Hold on one second. Oh, there we go. Okay. So at the elementary school, we do have STEAM classes, science, technology, English, art, music, for all students. Every student participates in STEAM class where they're really focusing in on those areas that will really get them ready for jobs that we may not even know exist yet. We do have presentations from the fire prevention, firefighters, they come in. We do have student council, so students have the ability to get some roles in leadership and decision-making within their building. There are lessons in multiple grade levels that focus on career exploration, really exposing them to different careers and get them thinking about what they might be interested in. We have the Positivity Project, and that's really building their character. And so it's focusing on one word and in, like, for example, perseverance, and then really understanding what that means and understanding how they can demonstrate perseverance and practicing that. And that might not link directly, you think, to a job, but if you think of those soft skills that people have to have in order to be able to get a job, to keep a job, and be able to interact with others, those are important pieces that we do build into our academic day. And then literacy initiatives, we have One Book, One School, Literacy Night, and the literacy volunteers of Wayne County come and read to our students, so really exposing them to those different pieces. I'm not sure if any of you have been following the One Book, One School on elementary school's Facebook page, but it's really cool. Every student gets the same book, and as a school, it's expected that certain chapters will be read each night, and different activities happen at school related to that book. And even within school, there's opportunities for students to do some of that reading, and it just really brings the whole school community together that they're having that shared experience. So at the middle school, again, we have student council. I'm going to skip over the Career Carnival because I'm going to go back to that and show you a video from our students attending that last year. P-TECH, we have an overview assembly, so students may get an idea if it's something that they would be interested in to go and actually attend P-TECH when they get into 9th grade. There's a career unit in our home ec class. Students are able to visit Wayne Tech and Career to see the different programs that they have there. There's a P-TECH Shadow Day where they can go and shadow a student at P-TECH. For students with disabilities, we do have transition planning that's built into their individualized education programs that we start that at 12 years old, of them really thinking what do they want to do in the future and how can we plan to help them reach those goals so they can get there by the time they do exit high school. And that's looked at every single year when they have their IEP meetings. 5th and 6th grade both host career units. And then we do have Dell Client come in and they offer a life skills program, really teaching students about how to manage life, which is very valuable. It's some of those skills that, you might have thought that back in the day it was offered and we've abandoned that, but really with Delphi coming to help with that, students are really getting some good information as far as their life skills there. Going back to the Career Carnival, this is an event that is held once a year for 8th graders to attend, and there's a wide variety of different people there that are from all different jobs and businesses around, and the students get to go and experience that at the Wayne County Fairgrounds. And I'm going to show you a quick video so you can kind of see what they experience in that time. I'm going to warn you, I'm going to plug in a speaker that is going to sound terrible at first.
Make sure your volume on your computer is down below too.
Okay. So as you can see, that was an experience that really exposed kids to a lot of different careers that they might not have initially been thinking of they would want to pursue. And our 8th graders get to attend that in the past 2 or 3 years that they've hosted that?
I want to say 3.
Yeah. So, and they all really enjoyed the day. And last year it was like such a rainy day, a dreary day, but it ended up being a great day for the kids. All right. So moving on to the high school, again, there's a student council there. There's a college and career night that they have there. There's a BOCE's program visit where the students get to go and visit different programs to see if it's something they'd be interested in. Our students can sign up to go on the Finger Lakes Works field trip. We have military recruiter visits. There's a medical career expo that students attend. We do have work release for 7 students where they come to school for part of their day, but then they also have jobs. So they get their academics done through partial day and then they can leave to go to jobs. And then in addition to that, we do have students that attend full day school and then still maintain jobs after school. We have a career and financial management class that students can take. We have some local business outreach going on that I'll go into a little bit more about that in another slide. Catholic Charities comes in and gives how to adult classes. We do have school-centered work-based learning. So we have students that are supporting our food pantry by doing the ordering, the stocking, and also loading up, loading up the bags that are sent home with students for students that need meals for over the weekends. We have students that are helping with that as their work-based learning opportunity. We have some community-centered work-based learning. So we have students that have gone to Alassa Farms to work and that are interested in working with animals or farming, so they can get experience with that. We have Access VR come in. We refer to them. Those are for students who are going to be leaving high school that have a disability to see what type of supports can be set up for them after school in order for them to be successful in a career or going out to work in a future setting, what skills they might still need work on, and setting them up with the community resources they need to be able to do that. We do have some students that attend P-TECH. We also continue to do the transition planning in the IEPs at the high school level, and then we have students that attend BOCES. Those pictures are from the Finger Lakes Works event. So our BOCES Tech and career enrollment is pretty impressive. 33.7% of our 11th and 12th graders are attending. And you can see there the different programs that they are participating in and how many students are a part of those programs. And so for this presentation, I focused really on what we do to prepare students who are going into a career. But you can see that some of these students are at BOCES, but then would go on to college and then career. And we have other things built in our classes here at the high school that really do prepare students for what they're going to want to do down the road, but they might be going to college first. I didn't focus on that for this. I really just focused on students who are going into careers, but some of those students are included in here that will go on to college. And those are our students working with the puppy. So we do have a local business outreach plan that was just begun this year. We've been using our MTSS Cody Lab to help develop this. And so what the idea is really just reaching out to businesses to start making that connection with them between the school and the businesses that are in this area. And so on the bottom, you can see all the different businesses that have been reached out to and made a connection with so far this year. And we have had one, Advanced Automation Technologies, has come in, and students have been able to sign up to come down and actually meet with them to find out, you know, what it entails to work there, what different positions there are, and what skills they would need to be able to get a job there after they're done with school. The next thing that we would like to set up is some training for students and then have them go through a mock interview session so they can really understand those things that might not come naturally, like looking someone in the eye when you're answering a question. Those types of things that might not be as comfortable for students, that we really want to make sure they understand, you know, how to dress, how to greet someone when they're in an interview session. And then the final piece of that is we'd like to get some of these companies in who are going to have openings starting in the summer or in the fall, and have them come in and actually do an interview day for students to be able to go and rotate through an interview with these businesses to try to get students hooked up with jobs. So, you know, when they are going across the stage of graduation, instead of just saying they're going into the workforce, they can say we're going into the workforce at this business. So like I said, this is relatively new and just starting up, but we're hoping to keep on developing this for students. So district-wide, what are we doing? We do have a program called Zelo that we're working to implement. Zelo is basically like an online student portfolio where starting in the elementary school, they can go in and it looks like fun little games, but it's really them experiencing different types of jobs and figuring out what skills they have to figure out what they might be interested in or what their skills are, their strengths are suited to. And then as you go through each grade level and move up, it becomes more mature, more developmentally appropriate for them to be able to explore different jobs and what skills you would need, what schooling you might need to be able to go into that job. And that's something that we do have district-wide, and we're working to get that implemented. We had a training on it earlier this school year, and we're working with the counselors through the career plans that they work on with their students to really get that up and running. An additional piece is edgefactor.com that I wanted to share with you, and this is interesting because this is something that is really being publicized throughout Wayne County. I don't know if any of you have noticed billboards, but there are billboards. And you can see to find different things that you're interested in looking into. And the cool thing about Edge Factor is that there's actually individuals from Wayne County that have made videos that are on here telling you about what their job is, and it's really more in student-friendly terms to get an idea, you know, if you want to go into industry, what those jobs might look like and what that entails. So they're really trying to have students really look into things, especially in the Wayne County area, to be able to see what's available. And then finally, just integrated throughout the academic courses are those soft skills I was talking about. So really working on communication, collaboration, tolerance, teamwork, independence, flexibility, all those things that if you don't have them, it's very hard to maintain a job once you get it, because you have to be able to, you know, have some perseverance if you're running into something that's difficult, or be able to have respect to your boss and understand how to communicate with them. So those pieces we build in through our academic curriculum. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is just I asked the teachers what they felt that they do to make students career ready. And so this is a word cloud, and basically everybody answered by typing in their answers, and the words that are the largest are the words that were put in the most. So you can see the teacher's perception of what they're doing to get students career ready. Do you have any questions about anything?
Some time ago, I was approached by a person who was in one of our local businesses, and one of the things that they were really looking for were those personal attributes of being on time, working when you're supposed to work, without cell phone interruptions, and the comment he made. Most of the people that we hire some of them are good workers when we can get them there, but they don't show up. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of, as I say, personal attributes that are just crucial to holding a job.
Mm-hmm. And I hear teachers having great conversations with students, you know, especially students who may not be that excited about school, but really trying to relate, you know, you coming to school every day, you coming to class on time, you communicating with me if you need help with something, that's going to help you when you get a job. So trying to help them see past this to the future and building those skills in is very important.
It's nice.
Great, Megan, thanks. I have 3 questions. For this elementary school, career exploitation lessons, is that them with the teachers, and can you give me an example of what that would entail?
Yeah, so for career exploration, for instance, in first grade, they might look at different community workers that are throughout our community, and they might identify, oh, there's construction workers, and there's people who deliver the mail, and there's policemen. And so, you know, at a first grade level, it's it's more developmentally appropriate for just understanding who are community helpers. And you can see, you know, some of the kids dressed up in the community helper outfits to really understand that. So in first grade, it looks like that. As you get older, third grade has actually had people that work in different jobs come in and present to the kids. or they've had the kids go and interview someone to learn about what their job is and what schooling they had to have in order to be in that job, or what skills they need. So it's really exploring careers through our academic pieces within each grade level that's appropriate.
Sounds great. Second question was Dell Client. What do they do?
Yeah, so
You
Dell,
said they come into the school, but then I got lost.
yeah, Delphi is an outside group that comes in. They do drug and alcohol counseling. They're an outside group, but they also do the life skills classes, which really teaches students about those things like those soft skills that we were talking about. Really teaching them in their classrooms as a group about that, so that when they do go out into the real world, they have those skills.
I got it. Okay, last question was, we had the automation company come to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great, and you have several others lined up. Do we have a process, or is it just left up to the students to go and visit the company?
So we actually do have a follow-up visit. Thank you for mentioning that, because I forgot to say that. We do have a follow-up visit scheduled where students are going to be able to go and visit that company on a Saturday. That particular company has like a job force outreach person. So Cody's working with them in order for the students to be able to go, and their parents can come if they want to bring them. Or he was going to look and see if, like, through some of our after-school 21st century program, we might be able to get transportation to be able to take a bunch of kids there to really see what it looks like inside those businesses. And that's the first place that we've set that up with, but we'd like to start doing that more.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that we're expanding our relationships with more local businesses, and I think we need to celebrate every time we bring one on board. So if you could just send us a note as we recruit more, I think that'd be awesome, because, you know, the more opportunities that you get the kids to see those businesses and how they function, the more chance that they might join the team after graduation.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of businesses out there that are looking for people, and I happen to know of one just from being in Rotary. There's a woman in Rotary with me, and she's like, we can't find anybody to come and work for us. And so I mentioned that to Cody to try to hook them up, and that was the precision manufacturing, I think it was. And so it's just like connections like that and hearing about it and just connecting. And I think businesses are more than happy to work with the school. It's just getting that connection started. So yeah, I'll be happy to update that as we make more connections. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
At this time, a motion to approve the agenda. Paul, Izetta, we do have some additions to add to this agenda. You have green sheets. On your green sheets, on the first page, A would be under F in the consent agenda, and that would be F6. And on the first page, B would be F7. And on the second page will be a G added to that. So A, B, C, D, F, and G, okay? And then on the second page, small letter A will be a 6C. That's different because it's a roll call vote. Okay? All right. So we'll put another motion into this first motion first to put these on the agenda. Linda? Tina? Discussion? All in favor? The motion is carried, and now we can go back to the original motion, which is to approve the agenda. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. At this time, we will go to public access, and Nancy Casper, you've signed up to speak. Where's Nancy? Nancy, I remind you that our policy is that you have 5 minutes to speak to us, and that by law we don't respond, we just listen. Be here.
Well, thank you very much for
Yes.
your interest in the subject of the proposed sewage sludge composting facility in the town of Butler. As you may well be aware, this proposal is something that is raising a lot of concern, and so far we have yet to find a single Butler resident who favors this proposal. There was a town board meeting last night that was attended by hundreds, I mean at least 300 people. It was standing room only inside and a crowd outside. So this proposal by Tully Environmental out of Flushing, New York, intends to bring 300 tons per day of New York City sewage sludge to the town of Butler for composting. That's 10 truckloads a day. In addition to that, they would be bringing in the wood chips that it would be mixing. We don't know exactly how many loads because that number seems to be shifting. One of our witnesses who presented last night, a Butler resident, Peter Spalding, is an engineer and also has his own industrial composting facility that composts horse manure, and he knows how to do it right. He's done his research. And I'd like to just briefly, as quickly as I can, read his statement because it contains information that you should be aware of. So I'm going to go through this quickly. So he introduces himself as Peter Spalding, saying that he's a 28-year Butler resident and has operated a commercial composting facility for 12 years. He wants to talk about the process involved in composting. He said the last board meeting, Rich Rosselli, the owner of the property, said the composting process would take 3 weeks. If that is the plan, this is not composting. Composting is a managed process of decomposition. Certain parameters must be controlled. It is actually a manufacturing process starting with the raw material and converting it through physical and biological methods to an end product bearing little resemblance to the raw material from which it originated. If done properly, pathogens are eliminated, heavy metals are bound, pH is neutralized, toxic organic compounds are degraded, odors are minimal, and leachate is contained and returned to the process. The finished product is a truly remarkable and beneficial creation of nature. So it goes into some more details that basically Tully is not planning on using to do the composting properly. So Tully's process, Peter states, that to assume that the compost is finished at the point that Tully says it will be is simply incorrect. That would be like baking a fruit pie at 425 for 10 minutes, then thinking you're going to serve it, rather than reducing the oven temperature to 350 and baking for another 45 minutes or until done, as prescribed in the recipe. So the important thing here is that this proper composting process requires a second stage and is absolutely essential to achieve a finished and stable product. This stage will begin to bind heavy metals, making them insoluble in water, and must be allowed to proceed for a minimum of 2 to 3 months. Let's see. And during the entire process, the material must be undercover to prevent rainwater, et cetera, from leaching through the unstable product. So he says, to me then, Tully would have to demonstrate that they could actually manage the process, as I have summarized here, and accommodate the tremendous volume of material, starting with an assumption of a minimum of 120 days for complete processing. Let's do the math. Now this is interesting. At 10 trailers of sludge and 20 trailers of bulking material for the proper ratio, that's 30 trailers per day on our highways, big truck traffic. With windrows measuring 15 feet wide and 6 feet high, 30 trailer loads would build about 700 feet of windrow per day, 2 3/4 miles in 3 weeks, or 16 miles of windrow for 120 days of processing. The Rosselli property is simply not big enough to do this, let alone provide space for unloading feedstock, raw materials, staging, processing, post-processing, et cetera, et cetera. To summarize his statement, just to go on quickly, what Tully and Rosselli have proposed is not complete composting. This gives a bad name to composting and frankly is offensive to those of us who do it correctly. There is a facility, he goes on, in Merrimack, New Hampshire that has been doing the proper process for decades, and they are rated as one of the top 10 places in the country to live. And
Nancy, can you finish up?
Yeah, in closing, Tully wants, in closing, this poses any number of hazards to our community. Taxes, property values, road safety, quality of life, hazards to land, water, and air from the toxins. The process is not proposed, as proposed, is not safe, and I urge you all to contact your legislators, senators, anybody you can think of, and urge them to deny this. So my time's up. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
We have 2 Facebook pages.
Pardon me?
We have 2 Facebook pages with all the information and updates, Sludge Free Upstate and Butler and Beyond Sludge Free Backyards. Thanks.
Thank you. There being no other people who've signed up for public access, we'll move on to the reports. We'll start with the principals. Melissa, elementary school. This is not Melissa, this is Christy.
I was going to say, I will be taking place for Mrs. Petricola tonight. We've had a busy month at the elementary school, full of academic, social, and emotional learning experiences. In our board report, you can see some monthly highlights that include our annual PE night, our February attendance incentive, which had 215 students attend. We had the Wolcott Rotary come and deliver dictionaries and thesauruses to our 3rd and 4th grade students. And finally, as Megan talked about, we kicked off our One Book, One School literacy event, where every North Rose-Wolcott elementary student, UPK through 4th grade, received the book Flora and Ulysses to read together. And we did want to extend to the board that if any of you would like a copy of the book, that we can share it with you if you want to read with us as well. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Oh, Christy, I noticed in your report that you're working on coordinating the UPK materials and kindergarten materials to make the transition easier for the kids. I thought that was very laudable.
Great, thank you. We're very excited.
I just wanted to congratulate you on the success of the PE night. I couldn't believe the number of parents and students that attended. It was a lot of fun.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark? Middle school.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So we wanted to share the New York State testing schedule coming up a couple weeks out for that. So we're getting ready for that. It's already here. And then after the spring break, we'll have math. So we'll have ELA at the end of this month, and then math after the spring break. We've got a lot of things going on, and you saw the Cougar News presentation before our meeting. And if anybody has any questions for us, I'd be happy to answer.
I noticed in your report too that 8th graders have time with 9th grade staff to ask questions and kind of prepare for transitioning. Of course, they're already here in the building, so they're familiar with that. But that's a great opportunity for them to feel comfortable and know what's going on.
Last 2 years, it's been a little easier, I have to admit. And thanks to the high school staff for helping us out as well.
Anyone else? Jason?
Just quick, I noticed that time after time you seem to incorporate engaging learning environments in your reports, and I think that it's great. I mean, I think that in 2020, students need more attention and they need to feel a part of it, and I think it's only going to lead to better success. So I like seeing that over and over again because it seems like it's a focus point for the middle school, and I like it.
Yes, thank you, and for the district as well. I know we're all working towards personalization and engagement.
Well,
And I noticed we've got another roller skating event on Thursday.
Yes, got another roller skating event Thursday. Last one of the year.
I'm not chickening out, but I'm not sure I'm going to be back in town. But if I am, I'll come in for more combat roller skating.
Great, no reason to explain. Thank you so much for your participation last time. It was great.
all right, thank you very
Thanks, everyone.
much. Sandy for the high school.
I just have a couple of dates and invitations. On March 17th from 11 to 1, Mark and I are treating all the students to surprises on St. Patrick's Day. And if you have a strong arm and can scoop ice cream, please come and join us. It's 11 to 1 on March 17th. Also, district-wide music concert, I hadn't heard from anyone else, so I wanted to make sure to give that a pitch. On March 25th will be the district-wide music concert right here. And I'm pretty sure that in your update, you received a copy of 2 different draft letters I sent to seniors, along with a draft program. Well, I did a home visit today of a struggling senior, and lo and behold, hanging on the refrigerator is the program. So even though they might be in 12th grade and they displayed their first grade work on the refrigerator at home, they had the program hanging on the refrigerator. So I know it made an impact to go to this home with this struggling senior to see that posted today. The last thing I'd like to formally introduce, a face and a name. I'd like to introduce Jay Shetler, who is the new assistant principal at the high school. And he came from our social studies teaching ranks, and knowing Jay and his skills and his assets, he'll just be a tremendous help to the new principal that you hire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah, sure.
I noticed on the draft that you weren't listed as the principal, nor Jay the assistant principal. Are you going to have your name on there for? I don't know.
They interviewed today, so my time here is until the new principal is hired,
Okay.
so it might not be me.
I just wasn't sure if that was an error. Thank you.
No, I left it off purposely. Any other questions?
You'll note, Board, that the approval of Jason Shetler as the assistant principal is in our packets tonight. We'll be voting on you soon.
And remember, St. Patrick's Day, I need you.
I haven't heard any bad things, so.
Okay. Paul?
What was the date of the cabaret?
She hasn't firmed up the cabaret, but the district-wide music concert is March 25th.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Those are my 2 dates tonight. Thank you.
Students, all of those students who have IEPs, so that we can make good decisions for them when they go from 4-year-old to 5-year-old, and start making plans for them for kindergarten. Do you have any questions?
Guess not. Thank you very much. Robin, Director of Health, Phys Ed Athletics.
Good evening. Some highlights in my board report for this month is this coming Friday, March 13th, is our PD Day, and it's also our Staff Wellness Day that we're concentrating on. The leadership team planned some great PD workshops in the morning, And then in the afternoon, there's going to be 25 different choices of wellness activities. Some are physical activities, some are actual educational workshops that staff can choose from. And then we're going to have a chili cook-off for lunch, the first annual one, and then a obstacle course culminating challenge for all the staff at the end of the day. I would love it if you all could stop at any time, or if you want to sign up for some classes. I listed them here in the report. I'd be more than happy to let you know what time those offerings are. We'd love to have you. And then every single staff member in the district is going to get a wellness t-shirt. That's including transportation, facilities, the food service department, all the teachers, non-instructional staff, and district office and the board. So I would like to give you guys your shirts early.
Oh, we're the lucky ones, huh? Very nice. Thank you very much.
And from the athletics world, our athletic department, we've had incredible outcomes this winter. We're now up to 5 sectional winners for the year, and 4 of them are all from the winter season. Ryan King now has 2 sectional wins for the year and 3 overall. He had one last year, so he won this winter in the 3,200 at indoor track. Jenna Roel won high jump at indoor track, which was amazing to watch both of them. I was there for the finals that day. Then Persian Singh won sectionals for the first time ever, Section 5 Wrestling Championship for females. So they didn't have a state competition yet at that level, but amazing to see that her senior year, she ended up being a champion for women's wrestling. Jake Minier won at the state qualifiers in super sectionals, and he got to go to states in Albany. I also had the great opportunity to go and be there and support him at that match. So he went 3 rounds there and did a phenomenal job. So again, 2 of our wrestlers, both seniors, did a phenomenal job. And spring sports kicked off yesterday. So the first time, I can't remember how long, that they were able to go outside on the first day in March for opening day. So that was pretty incredible, amazing weather. And we hope that keeps up so they can start out their first set of games. The high school musical last weekend or so was absolutely incredible. It was just such a great job. It's just amazing to see the talent that we have from our students. And that's all that I have. Any questions?
So you might add, Reverend, it looks like we're going to have a JV baseball team for the first time in how many years?
It's been a really long time. So yeah, that will be the second team. Not only are we one of the only 2 schools in Wayne County sustaining every single sports team this year again, but we've now added 2. We added boys volleyball for modified level in the fall, and now a JV baseball team that we have not had. And I can look up how many years, but it's been quite a few years. So we're super excited about that.
Robin, I liked your report because all the teams that did well, but the excitement in some of their eyes and their expressions, and especially the picture of the indoor track with the coach, Duke Mitchell, giving a thumbs up above everybody else. I thought that summed up the whole program.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bridget? Is Bridget here today?
Bridget is
No,
out
she's
today.
not. And Kennedy isn't here either. She's a busy girl. At this time, we'll take a 3-minute break to allow our principals and directors to depart. Let's continue the report. It seems like it's in the wrong place. All right, we can do good news. That's next on the agenda. John always has lots of good news. Paul, too. John?
So there's 2 pieces. Our fourth grader, Dixon Kerr, was recognized by the Rose-Wolcott Rotary as Student of the Month in February. And a very nice picture of our principal and the young man. And it was also on the website. No, it was on her report. Also, there's BOCE's Wayne Technical Career Center. They have a quarter quality student award. I'll say that over and over again if you can. And there's a huge number of students and from Wayne Central and Williamson and Newark, Marion, Lyons, but we had a lion's share of the people who got awards, our kids, in all different areas, as was on your screen. So those are the two I have. Other than the fact that Robin pointed out our teams did so very well, and the individuals did so very well.
The teams, and then again the musical, Robin mentioned that, it was just awesome. And I think very well attended. I know you came a day different than I did, and you said it was very well attended. So well done to everybody on that one. I mentioned an individual last week, 2 weeks ago, from RIT. So now I got a newspaper article, and there was more than just Anna Marie DeRizio. Carly Trine in ceramics, Jake Snyder in software engineering, and Tess Roberts in graphic design. So again, 4 students from our school. And I think RIT is a 3-5. I'm not certain of that, but Dean's List, so for sure. Now to piggyback on Megan's, for career ready, Kelsey Roberts is already working in the B&G Italian restaurant in Waterloo. She's he's a class of 2019. Then on the class of 18, Austin Laplinger in advanced manufacturing is already working at Advanced Automation Technologies. That's the one you had, right? So hey, there's a couple of examples of our students hidden right now in the workforce.
You get sent. Those things.
Thanks, Scott, for checking into a lot of that. Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, we'll move on to Megan.
So I wanted to mention, I guess that falls under good news, and also with Bridget being out, I was able to attend Super Saturday on Saturday, which is run by our teachers who work for the LIFT program. And it was really a great community event where any students and families in the community could come and engage in numerous fun activities, from foosball to playing in the gym. There was cookie decorating and cupcake decorating. There's movies being shown, a read aloud, just dance, and there was really a good turnout of students to come to that. So I appreciated being able to come and bringing my child to come enjoy that. And in addition to that, I just wanted to mention that we did have interviews all day today for our future high school principal, and we were able to narrow it down to 4 people, and pending reference checks, those 4 people will then be interviewed next Wednesday night in a round-robin style interview with committees comprising of students, community, and staff. So they'll have a rigorous night of interviewing, so we can hopefully narrow it down to some people to recommend to Mr. Bishoping to determine our next high school principal.
I did see Megan there at Super Saturday, and it was really fun to watch all of the kids and families doing fun things. And at the time I went to the movie area, there wasn't anyone there yet, but there was going to be. There were a lot coming in. It was fun to see everybody having a good time.
Megan, from Bridget's report too, the Wayne County Partnership is going to meet tomorrow. Now, how are we involved in that?
So the Wayne County Partnership is a larger group that involves the different school districts, and they really are kind of the group that brings everybody together and shares information. So there's a lot of subgroups underneath that, but Bridget tends to go to all of those meetings and then connects us with community agencies through the community schools work. And so she really stays relevant with what they're working on to provide to our students and families.
So right now, it's kind of Bridget is the bridge from Wayne County Partnership to our school.
Yes.
Because you mentioned Edge Factor, and they're going to have HVAC tomorrow and then future ready, so. Will Rich be able to attend that as far as you know?
I believe she is planning on attending that.
Great, thanks.
All right, Bob?
Oh, excuse me. Megan, I think there's in your report that each school is going to get their month to put the good news of their buildings, I'll put it that way, in the local brochure or newsletter or whatever you want. I think that's excellent, and I think we've talked about that before. I think the more often we show the good news of the North Rose-Wolcott, it sells the product. We get the backing of parents, community. It's a great thing. Well, thank you.
So John, just to clarify, each building's going to get a week of each month.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
That's even better.
Okay, Bob?
I do have just a couple of things to add in addition to the information in my report. Excuse me. First of all, the change order that was added to the agenda. Just so you know, a little background on that, and I do believe I touched on it a little bit in my update to you. This is an example of where there was a lot of negotiating that needed to be done. So I think I told you it could be possibly a construction change directive that would come your way, or a change order. We weren't in agreement on the dollar amount for the job, which is why we thought we may have to go with construction change directive. Due to the fact that campus was able to negotiate, work with us, go back to the contractor, they were able to get that number down to a more reasonable level where we were getting proper credits back and some other things. So that's why it took a little bit longer, but why you are able to approve it as a regular change order. Any questions about that at all?
Yeah, Bob, what is that change order for again? This is change order 78?
Yes, that's correct. It's for opening up on the second floor at the north end, doing some shoring, getting rid of there's a lot of abatement, as you mentioned, is in there because we've got some of the old brick wall that's got the black mastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Also, I know some conversation has occurred about the newsletter going out quarterly, and just a reminder, we have been publishing that quarterly. This year, it has been listed online, and some people did send in slips saying they wanted it mailed, and that's been going on. Mr. Bishopine and I looked a little bit closer at stuff, and to be honest, we would recommend, unless the board thinks otherwise, that we return to mailing those out. Basically, most of it is an aidable expense through BOCES. Postage, we obviously don't get aid on. But the printing we do through BOCES, either through city BOCES or Wade Finger Lakes BOCES. So to take those additional 3 and mail them throughout the year after aid, we're looking at an expense of probably under $5,000 total. So, unless the board directs us otherwise, the next one we would have planned to mail out anyways as it's the budget newsletter.
All right, good.
Let me ask for consensus here, starting with you, John.
I think you know my feelings. I just gave them before. I think the more often we pass things out to parents and community members, the more support we get. So I'm 100% in favor.
Good. Paul?
Fully in favor.
Isaiah?
Definitely.
Linda?
Definitely. Anytime we can communicate news, I think it's important.
Jason?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
We have consensus? Yeah?
Only because a community member had brought it up and I never thought of it. But one of the community members recommended that we consider possibly mailing a portion of those out with report cards to save on postage. But that's just something that they had said. And when I thought about it, I'm like, it kind of makes sense. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, kind of. But I'm sure logistically it might not work. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the format of the report cards because we get a certain rate for mailing out, bulk mailing of the same thing, all that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
The only other things I just wanted to distribute to you, and Mr. Bishopin will have a little bit more information about the topic in his report, but we have been working on making sure we do have a pandemic plan in place. Things are changing on a daily basis. on the topic of the coronavirus. And we're investing time every single day, and we know that things are going to change on a daily basis, and we may need to make adaptations to plans, etc. But this is a document that we've been working on. We've got our first draft out here.
Yes, we received a copy of the letter that went out to staff, and that was very informative, and I'm sure they were happy to know what was going on as well. Thank you.
And that's all I have unless there's any other
Any questions for Bob? All right, then Scott.
Thank you. Just a couple of follow-up pieces to start with. First, Board Clerk has sent out a letter follow-up with Mr. Norris based on his request and the follow-up that we had discussed. The second follow-up piece is regarding the discussion last time about town hall type meetings. I did meet with Kevin McGowan from Brighton, the superintendent there, who also does work with boards, collective work with boards. My recommendation to the board, after talking with him, would be to potentially engage with him on a board workshop in terms of how to go about the work collaboratively, but also how to go about having a communication plan with the community. The work that they've done in Brighton came after a lot of preparation, a lot of work in advance to do that, and as we discussed that, he recommended, and I saw that that's certainly a possibility for you, and had said something to Lucinda about that earlier, but would want to suggest as you bring a new superintendent on board, that would be a good time to collaborate, develop a plan of working together, but also then how do you want to collectively communicate with the community. One other item just to follow up, as far as Bob mentioned regarding the pandemic plan and our work regarding the coronavirus. One of the things that, a couple things we've sent out a couple messages now to staff and a message to parents. We'll continue to update staff as new information comes in. I can't say as all new information comes in, because that seems to come in hourly, but we'll certainly pass on information to staff as it becomes relevant, and keeping people posted. I think that's the best way to allay any kind of fears or to cause any, or to prevent any misinformation that we might have within the district. One of the things that's been made clear by the State Education Department is that we don't close the district in this kind of scenario, that the health department would close the district if that's the case. And so decision-making, much like we never do a school closing for weather-related issues in isolation, we usually take into account what the highway departments tell us we ought to do. The same is this in this case. We wouldn't do something like that in isolation, but we would take our cue from the health department. So just to make sure you're all aware of that. And then we're working on the kinds of things now, as you might have seen in that messaging around how do we have continuity of instruction if we can't have students here. If that's a potential, we want to make sure that we can access and use our online tools in order to have continuity of instruction. Any questions? Thanks.
All right, thank you. Hearing none, we'll move on. We're at the first reading of the policies. John, you were chairman of that committee. Would you like to address these, please?
Well, they're all listed in the on the website, and some of them are routine, have to do with legal issues that we can't really intervene in and pass over because they're by law, and others were short and common sense. So we did make some changes and had them reviewed by the Erie BOCES. And we're asking for a first reading. And Tina was so nice, she gave us a bunch more to read, and so that you'll see them in a future meeting.
All right. We would need a motion to approve the first read? No, it's just a first read then. We don't have a motion until after the second read. Paul, you have a question?
Well, yes, ma'am. When do we discuss the policies? In other words, I have questions, so is this?
Yes, absolutely. This is the time to ask them.
Okay, well.
But if you're going to talk about one, tell us the number, and so that we can get organized here.
Okay. 1335, duties of the extra classroom activity. Actually, I don't have anything with the policy, but I wanted to ask Bob. This was supposed to be on a quarterly basis and then the report to the board regularly. Is that? I haven't remembered that happening.
Bear with me while I...
Okay, sure. Oh, yeah, I had Tina run me off a hard copy, so
It's on page 1 in the middle.
What is it that you're talking about? 1335, number what?
Is G.
Yeah, item G and H.
G.
There's nothing, I don't have any issue with the policy, I just have a question about our board. I mean, have we been getting this report?
I don't think so, but I can't say this. As you know, I don't oversee that piece, but I can certainly look into it and follow up with central treasurers to see if those are coming through.
It's from the central treasurer.
Okay, so it's not on the treasury report.
Correct. Remember, the extra classroom is not the school district funds.
Use your mic, please. Use your mic on.
Those are the funds that are all the student clubs.
Right.
Right. So, yes, that would not be on our regular district financials that come monthly. I'll follow up with building administration, central treasurers, to see if they're providing those.
Okay, thank you. That was, again, I had no issue with the policy, I just had an issue with, like, I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, Linda? I wanted to ask a question because I'm sure there's not a big difference, but on policy 5413, the procurement, uniform grant guidance for federal awards, there were two terms. There was one that was micro purchases.
Wait.
And the other
Linda,
one was
we're not with you yet. What is the number we're looking at?
5413.
Okay, and what number? What letter?
I don't know what that was, but it was under, it was stating about micro purchases and small purchases. What would be the difference there?
The difference between micro purchases and small
There's
purchases.
not necessarily.
We're on Q, people.
And they're kind of interchangeable? Okay.
All right. Others? Jason?
Policy 3230, wouldn't that be a second?
Wait a sec, let us find it.
3230?
32. Okay.
I think that would be a second read, because we discussed it back in January, I believe, and it was sent out to BOCES for confirmation of the change.
We discussed it, but I think we sent it in and it came back in our packet for the first read. So this it'll be a first read.
I just didn't want to.
There were adjustments made to it, Jason, so, prior to this meeting. Between them. So if it's an adjustment is made, it should be a first read.
Oh, it goes back. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Paul?
I don't fully, so the same policy, okay, community relations 3230. I want to understand the last sentence of the third paragraph. The Board of Education reserves the right to require prior written reports from appropriate parties. Can Can someone help me understand that better?
I believe, I read that as to, maybe Scott could clarify, but if a parent complains against something, the principal investigates, or whoever the closest to the issue is. So it could be a report from the principal or athletic director, assistant principal, superintendent. And if it gets to us, then we can ask for their findings.
The other thing that most often is used by boards, if there's an appeal, is that it's typically a paper appeal, that you wouldn't hear witnesses or that sort of a thing. It's rare that a board would entertain that. So that's the written report piece.
Okay, good. I understand that. So in this policy now, we've given the superintendent the option, right, to either respond to an anonymous or not respond to an anonymous.
Yes.
So in other words, you're a superintendent right now, you would have the option.
Yes.
This warrants some attention, or?
Yes, it doesn't prevent the superintendent.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? Do you have another one? Okay.
I do, thank you. The next question I have is on financial accountability.
Number?
This is number 5570.
Okay.
Page 2, actually, thanks. So page 2K. I want to understand K a little better. The district requires all staff to take leave time during which another staff member. So my question is, are we requiring staff members to take leave, or are we requiring them to take leave when someone else can cover the job?
Mine was crossed off. That K was eliminated in the copies that we...
Yeah, mine's not.
Yeah, this,
Oh, okay. Well,
This isn't either.
okay, just give me a
When
minute.
when the committee looked at this, it was crossed off.
Okay, that was my mistake then, it is.
It's crossed off.
Taken off, yes.
Yeah,
Isn't that wonderful? You don't
Yeah,
even
it's
have to
crossed
worry
off.
about understanding it.
so K is crossed off.
Yeah, that takes care of my question.
I guess so. Do you have one, Linda? Do you have another one, Paul? Okay.
$65.51 Family and Medical Leave Act.
6551. All right, 6551.
And my questions actually are from page 3, and they expand over to page 4.
Page 3. Now, I have a lot crossed off here. That whole thing is crossed off. Is yours crossed off?
Okay. I think I still have a question. I see a lot of it's crossed off,
Right.
but it's on qualifying, how do you pronounce this? Exigency? Exigency leave? Qualifying exigency. So regardless of how you pronounce it, my question is the duration of it. On page 4, we had a paragraph with the duration of 12 weeks during a 12-month period. That's all crossed off. So my question is, did we intend to eliminate the duration, or was it an oversight?
That word means emergency, by the way. I did look it up.
Wonder why they didn't just use emergency. Maybe we should make the change to the word. No, but again, my question is the duration.
It's up page, we set the time at page 1 of 7, in the yellow part at the top. It says, district allows eligible employees to take unpaid FMLA leave for up to 12 work weeks in a 12-month period.
Okay, so that covers this portion also?
I believe it did, yes.
Yes.
Is that your interpretation?
That's how
Okay.
I would read it.
I think that's what it is.
I think that completed that first reads, didn't it? Paul, that completed the first reads unless you're going forward.
Please say that again.
That was the last one on the first reads, the 51, the 55, the 65, 51.
I'm okay with it as long as...
Oh, I thought you were going on to something else.
Well, I have another one, another policy.
In a first read?
6120, is that a first read?
Going backwards now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, equal opportunity, equal employment opportunity. This
Okay.
is simple. It's just, so in the paragraph 3 that is now crossed off,
Okay.
I'm sorry, you with me, John? Okay, so we crossed off Civil Rights Compliance Officer, CRCO. We eliminated that paragraph. So then when we come down to the next paragraph, we have CRCO, but we don't have Civil Rights Compliance Officer written in front of it. So I think it'd be more correct if we put that in front, because, for example, when I got down to CRCO, I went, what's that? And then I went back and found the crossed out portion, that explained it.
I see. So you're asking that that there be, like it was above,
Yes, ma'am.
It'd be
the
parallel.
clarification of what those letters mean. Yeah, that's an
It's
easy
parallel
one to
construction
add.
is not.
I agree.
Once those cross-offs are gone,
Right, that's true. All right.
we humans might
Okay,
not.
yeah, we can add that in there. Yeah, definitely.
Tina, do you have that?
Any more?
That completes mine, thank you.
That's yours. Anybody else? All right, that completes first read discussion. Back to the agenda. All right, a motion to put the consent agenda, or to approve the consent agenda. Izetta and Jason? Discussion, questions? You'll recall that we added the green sheets to this. No, no, we're not doing that yet. We're only doing items 1 through, this is number 5. The roll calls are under number 6, which is not the consent. They're not included in that. Any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Motion is carried. Now, item 6. This requires a roll call vote. Each one will. A, resolution to authorize the unsealing and opening of the ballot box. A motion, please. John and Paul. Okay, good. Discussion? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, roll call.
Cinda,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tina, Jason,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Izetta. Yes. Thank you, motion is carried.
Okay, and now we go to B, which is on page 4. A motion to approve the SECRA resolution, revolution, all right. Linda, and Izetta. Oh, no, that's the motion. That's the motion to put it on. All of, okay, so we've got the motion, we've got the second, and now we'll do, any discussion? Roll call vote.
Cinda,
Yes?
Linda,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tina, Jason,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Izetta. Yes.
All right, now the third one is the one from the green sheet on the second page, which is 6C. Motion, please, to award the bid for the corridor flooring. Motion? Paul? Linda? Discussion? Paul?
Yeah, it says, there's two figures, Bob, 237 or 212. This is an unusual award.
237 is the full amount of the bid. The base bid is a little bit under that, and there's what's called some allowances in there. So for some unknown situations, they're not sure like how much they'll have to fill in cracks, etc., like that. So there is a unit price put in there, but there's a max on the total amount.
So the 237 is the max then?
Correct.
Okay. Jason?
I'm sure everyone has done their due diligence, but did anyone look forward to make sure that the flooring is going to match any future capital projects that we have in that building so that we don't have to redo it in a few years?
Well, we can't necessarily assure that it will match the future. It would be more like in the future we would want to match what we've done here. This is what we had planned to put in with this phase.
Okay.
It's just, we were unsure of the budget, so we pulled it back on the initial bid.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, roll call vote.
Cinda,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tina, Jason,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Izetta.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Additions to the agenda. I just wanted to get a clarification. We had talked at a previous meeting about writing a letter to agree to oppose the sludge thing going on in Butler. Board members, I'd like to know officially that this is the direction you'd like us to go, and Scott and I will take care of that. If you would like, as a board, to send a letter opposing or voicing our concerns for the project that is proposed in Butler. I'll start with this side of this first. Tina? Jason?
Yeah.
Linda?
Yes.
Is that Paul? John? All right. We have consensus. We will take care of it. All right. At this time, I need a motion to go into executive session for the board to discuss the employment history of specific employees. Motion? Linda? Jason second? Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. And for your information, we will not be conducting any business when we come back in session. We will be adjourning at that time.